Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today, I've got to be honest with you, I'm going to share a little secret. I'm always getting into trouble with my wife. And yes, if you know us, that's not a surprise maybe. I get into trouble because I say three little words. I don't know. She might ask me, when's the next dog wash? My answer is, I don't know. She asks me for a telephone number. I answer, I don't know. She asks me for a piece of information. I don't know. She gets annoyed. I get into trouble. Then I explain to her why I don't know. That usually helps, but then she's forgotten by the next time. Now, the reason I don't know, it's very simple. My brain, it's not there to remember things. It's there to do things, to process things. I use a calendar, so why do I need to keep all the appointments in my head? I use a contact list. Why do I need to remember phone numbers and email addresses? I use a personal knowledge system. Well, why do I need to remember information? And I have all these files set up so that they sync through iCloud, so they're available on my phone, my iPad, my computer. No matter where I am, I've got access to that information. And yes, I know, syncing over the internet, it's a potential weakness. You know, if something goes wrong, I could lose everything. But I do take regular backups, so that worst case scenario, I might only lose a couple of weeks worth of work. Why do I do this? Well, in the book Getting Things Done by David Allen, he makes and talks about things like brain like water. And I'll be honest, I take that very much to heart. My brain, it's not very good at remembering things. It's not what it's designed for. What it is it's good at doing things. It's good at seeing links between different items. It's good for processing information and turning that into ideas that I can understand. It's good to relate new information to my existing knowledge, not by keeping it in my head, but by knowing where to go for the existing knowledge and then being able to look at it and work out what needs to be updated. In short, in computer terms, my brain, it's the processor. It's not the hard drive. If I try to remember things, well, what I find is that takes away a big chunk of my processing because I'm continually going over and over saying, better not forget, better not forget, better not forget. So I turn from an efficient processor into a really inefficient storage device. And that really does hamper what I can do. Instead, what I've got is I've got a whole range of tools that I use to help me remember things. I've already told you, I've got a calendar for appointments. I've got a contacts list for phone numbers and emails. I use notepads and paper for taking notes. You know, good old-fashioned, just write it down. I use OmniFocus for my action management. I use Obsidian for my knowledge management. I've got a number of tools that I use to store my information. And by using these tools, having specific uses for each one, I know where to go to find any information. For meetings, I know to go to the calendar. For phone numbers, I go to the Contacts app. For information and knowledge, I go to Obsidian. My brain, it points me to the right place. I can then access that information and then let my brain do what it's good at. Process the information, process the data. When I think back to when I was at school, we had our heads filled and crammed with information. We had to remember everything and we had to be able to regurgitate that in exams. To be honest, there was no real emphasis on processing the information, on really thinking about it. It was just a case of, just remember this and you'll be okay. Doesn't really work like that nowadays, does it? You know, we've got information, it's readily available, and there's more and more about it. Every time we look at something, we get in new information. Now, to give a rough idea of what's happening here, I did a bit of digging on the internet. In 2011, there was approximately 295 exabytes of information. That's 295 followed by 18 zeros. In 2021, there was about 79 zettabytes. That's 79 followed by 21 zeros. 268 times as much as just 10 years ago. In 2025, the current estimate, there'll be about 150 zettabytes, double what we're working with today. Now, yes, I know we don't all have this information, do we? But it's also showing how our brains are getting hit by the same thing. The amount we're expected to know, we're expected to work with, it's growing all the time. And as we're trying to remember more, what we're finding is it's harder to actually know what you're looking for because you've got too many things swimming around that aren't really adding value, that could be held somewhere else until you need to process it. Now, I'm going to give you a silly example. Let's assume you're a manager in a sales department. You don't keep the details of the previous days, weeks and months' sales in your head, do you? That's no use. If somebody wants that information, well, you just go and run a report. You can get it very quickly, very easily by using your computer or however you manage and track your sales. If you've got estimates and you want to compare your sales and estimates, you don't go doing it on in your head, do you? You run a report. That's got all that information there for you. The reports that we run, they are there to help us to make decisions. The information we work with, it's there to enable us to process and make decisions. We don't need to remember it as long as we know where we've got to go to get it. So continuing with our example, we look at our sales and our actuals for last week, and we see that Saturday's sales, they were half what we estimated. We then go and look at the local weather, and we see on Saturday it was raining. Nobody went out. Everyone was staying home unless they needed to go and get something urgently. That explains why our sales were half what we would expect. That is where we're processing the information, we're getting the sales report, we're looking at the weather report, and our brain, it's matching the two up to give us the reason. This is all about doing what we can to process data. This is why I'm always saying I don't know. I'm not storing that information, but I know where to get it. And by using this, by doing this, yes, I know. As I started the video with, I'm always getting into trouble from my wife. But I'm able to access that information when I need it because I know where to go and look, and I know I consistently update the information. I've got a process to access it. I've got the right tools to give me the information I need when I need it. And I'm able to pull this all together and use it so that I can get the results I deserve. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Have you got a series of tools that you commonly use? Why not drop a list down below? What do you use each tool for? I'd really be interested in kickstarting this conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.